So, the topic for our today's group discussion is the world community is facing several challenges. Which of these, in your opinion, is the most complex one and why? Global warming, terrorism, or economic recession? So, I'm going to start with the topic global warming, right? Because it is a very much important topic, and in the long run, it is going to be very much critical for human community, right?
Yes, I also agree with you because this problem is causing a total Earth problem, a problem that's going to solve in a few years.
Okay. So, what is global
It
warming?
is increasing day by day.
Yes. So, what is global warming? Global warming is actually the heating of the Earth's atmosphere and Earth's surface, right?
Yes,
Yes,
due to
because
greenhouse
of some
gases,
because of some
due to
natural
presence of
and man-made problems, the temperature of Earth and Earth surface is increasing day by day, and
yes,
because of that, some major problems are causing like ice melting and temperature rise and many climate changes also.
Okay.
and also rising of sea level.
Mean sea level.
Yes.
So, the main
Yes,
threats which the global warming is posing is the rise of mean sea level, the temperature rise, okay, annual rise in temperature, then threat to marine ecosystem, gradual shift of rainfall pattern, okay, which is also affecting the agricultural pattern and agricultural practice of the world. And
Yes,
obvious,
I I also like to note them. I also like to point some real reasons for it, like greenhouse gases are increasing day by day because of the climate changes and also the
human activity.
uses of yeah
because
or
of
uses
basically
of
the increased consumption of fossil fuel and also the rapid growth of industries and also the cutting the trees.
yes
Afforestation is the main reason.
yes
Okay,
Like CO2, like trees
CO2.
can handle a good amount of CO2, but when we cut the tree, so that CO2 will remain and it will increase in the atmosphere.
one more incident
Yes,
I can
and that
remember.
way.
One more incident I can remember that Amazon is called the lungs of the world, right? But in the
Yes.
last decade, the number of trees have fallen very sharply in Amazon rainforest, and it's
Yes.
there are basically two reasons. The first reason is wild forest fires that contribute. The first reason, and secondly, that Brazil government is even trying to cut down trees for for getting more cultivation area.
Yes. For furniture and yeah, construction, they cut the more and more, and not only in Amazon forest, but also in India and everywhere. We see the number of trees keep on decreasing.
Okay, so
And also see the concrete road which we have now. So concrete road also play a good roles in overall increasing the temperature.
right. So there is a point of forest fire. See, forest fire is the result of global warming. That due to global warming, the forest fire is increasing. Okay, and with increasing forest fire, number of trees are getting short. Okay, and again it is contributing to means emission of carbon dioxide, and again it is working like a cycle, right?
Yes.
Yes, basically it is a cycle because the amount of trees are cutting in right now, the deforestation of trees are going to affect the what say the increase of carbon dioxide.
Right. And with the increase the mean sea level, the glaciers and the ice caps of the Antarctic region is melting, right? And with the melting
Yes,
of and
yes,
with the
yes,
melt,
and it can also cause the water crisis because when the water will be get evaporated from the river, so that could also cause a major problem for the lives
right,
of animals and humans.
the fresh water with every passing time the amount of fresh water is decreasing. And not only the fresh water is decreasing, but even the sea level is rising. So the coastal area, it is estimated that with by the end of this century, there will be almost 3 to 4 feet rise in the mean sea level, and it will affect the coastal areas around the world. And mostly the cities like Mumbai or Japan, this type of places will be most prone to flood. They can even submerge, right?
Yes, yes, of course.
So
So
apart
what
from
we
the
can do
global,
is we have to, as a society, as a human, we have to be we have to be serious about it and stop consuming carbon dioxide and fossil fuels, etc.
okay,
So in that way, we can decrease the temperature of our Earth's surface, and that way the global warming will decrease.
okay. Apart
But it
from
is a
global warming,
long time.
even economic recession and terrorism, both of them are posing a threat to global community, right?
Yes,
Yes,
And in the last year, we have seen the live example of how economic recession is impacting the globe.
yes. Not only last year, we have seen it from decades like 2008,
Yeah,
1930s.
we have seen it, but last year it was a very real and serious situation.
yes,
And
yes.
if, in
Last
fact,
year for the, yeah, like in India for the financial year 2020, we see that in the first quarter and second quarter, our economy went to a great recession,
yeah,
and which
and
means the
even
lack
our
of
GDP
economic
touched minus
activity.
24%.
Yes, our GDP grew by minus 23% in first quarter, and by second and in second quarter it's minus 7.5, and which result in lots of we can actually measure it by saying practically that lots of job has destroyed, and so many people has driven back to
Yes,
poverty,
unemployment
and
is
also
increasing day by day.
Not
yes,
only in India but all across the
and
world,
also
the
inflation.
employment rate has decreased, and millions of people have been unemployed.
Lost, yes, they lost their jobs and many other things
And
happen
in fact, that
because of the economic slowdown.
this recession is not yet over. We are mid the recession, right? Still,
But see, the history says that every time a recession happens in a world economy or our Indian economy, after 2 or 3 years, it is going to be settled,
yeah, but
right?
the
After
impact it caused in those 2 to 3 years is huge because with
It's huge, yes.
because it directly affects the human living, right?
yes, financial problems.
Financial problems, even it can, in most of the people it can cause depression and anxiety.
Yes, depression, anxiety, and also the lack of resources to live a peaceful life, such as food and also so many things, medicine.
Yes. So overall, due to the economic recession, that is the slowing down of the economic growth, what happens, the trade is there is an hindrance in trade. Okay,
Yes,
some business firms, be it small or large, have been shut down. Okay, and the employer are even out of business.
yes, and also the GDP became GDP of a country. Basically, it contract.
Collapses, right? So not only that, the public suffers from economic recession, but even some government suffer from economic recession because with economic recession the price of the goods starts increasing. Okay,
Mm.
Yes, crude oil or fuels, everything. The value of the price of everything is increasing because of
and
global recession.
the
Yeah.
price of crude oil is directly related to other goods like vegetables
Yes,
and other,
because
because they
their
need to
transport is the main
transport,
reason
right?
for it.
the cost of
Yes.
transportation increases. Okay.
Yes, and with economic recession, we can see that the overall the development of a country stops, such as so many infrastructure projects, and also modernization programs such as electrifying the railways, or also
Yes,
introducing new policies
the development is somewhat hindered.
in
Okay,
that. Yes,
and
Yes, and this is going to be trouble of the target of our Indian
even the
hydrogen economy.
burden
yeah, but
on.
see, currently India is out of recession because in quarter 3 India has gone to positive 0.4%. So we are technically out of recession now. So but there are so many countries in the world that they are still in the recession with their GDP is grow by some negative 8 to 10%.
Okay, so we can see that our country is out of recession, but still, those who have lost their job in the last
Yes.
year, they are still finding it difficult to get new jobs.
Yes, it has a great after effect, and we will see that effect for like next 2 years.
Yeah,
But that's not a reason for recession. Well, I mean, the unemployment is increased not because of recession. It's because of corona effects, right?
right.
Yes.
Okay, and one more aspect of economic recession is that the state economy suffers the burden. That is, the person who are out of job, they claim out of work benefit like Manrega. More enrollment in Manrega scheme
Yes.
is seen. So the burden on government economy increases, right? Okay. Now we have talked about global warming. We have talked about economic recession. So there is another point and another topic, and the topic is terrorism, right?
Yes.
So what, according to you, is the challenge terrorism is bringing to the world?
See, terrorism basically it causes a great instability in a country, and it can also affect the daily life business. For example, we have seen that recently in Chhattisgarh, a Naxal terrorist group organized an attack against the CRPF, and it is estimated that around 20 to 40 soldiers have been killed.
Yes, and not only this is,
But
and not
but yeah, yeah, continue, please.
okay, not only this is the sole incident of terrorism. Even terrorism every week of every month, we see some or the other incident of terrorism in our country or even outside our country, right?
Yes, it is
Yes.
causing trouble globally.
Yes. So terrorism is posing security threat, okay, and to tackle terrorism, whole means a lot of money is wasted, means it is
Yes.
invested to tackle terrorism.
Yes, basically lots of money. The government you have to use so many money to control the terrorism, and that terrorism also can affect the business and daily life of the affected area people.
Yes,
So
because with the
yes,
But
growing,
don't you think in other way that terrorism is increasing many employments like Iraq headquarter for American embassies?
yes, and also tourism also get affected by terrorism, and so many people who are dependent on yeah, tourism, they have to suffer from it
yeah, and
because
Yes,
even
yes, but human lives are also human life. No, in no doubt, human life is suffering from it. But if you say it in a world map way, global way, it is not causing that much trouble in right now times, right? In these times.
yes, it is not
yes.
causing much trouble in
Yeah,
this time, but
yeah. See, but no, no. But it could
yeah, but
eventually,
it has the
within
potential to
very
cause
few man.
huge threat.
Yes, such as for example, we have seen the whole Middle East have got disturbed by the rise of ISIS, and within like say few months, so many millions of people got killed. So it is a dangerous threat, and constantly so many people are working to keep it in a say in a little form.
Even
So as you mentioned Iraq, I want to say something like I read a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy theory. I don't know the actual truth,
okay,
but I will mention it. Like uh, the situation right now in Iraq, in between in Iran and Iraq. So we all know that America is handling the area by their hand, right? America is getting in there, getting in Iraq for a long time right now. So many people say that through the just because of their oil and their fuel, their oil, basically their oil. Iraq and Iran has lot of oils. So just because of that, America in other way, like creating the assembly for terrorist organizations, they try to get hand in their oil.
I even
Yes,
think
yes,
that this is very much right because with if Iran and Iraq continues with their oil supply all across the world, their oil is cheaper. Okay, so the demand for Iran's oil is huge. Okay,
Yes, and America also knows that they are not going to get their hand on Iran or Iraq's oil just by doing nothing. So they created a theory that Iraq and Iran is going to have a terrorism attack or terrorism cover-ups. So in that way,
even
they can hand the
in the recent time, even we have seen that the Trump administration had sanctioned Iran, right?
yes,
So that its trade with other countries, other allies of US was stopped.
yes,
yes,
that's
and
all.
basically in Middle East. We have seen that terrorism can destroy the entire country, such as Iraq and Syria got destroyed totally.
And
Okay,
even
and
Not because of
so many
terrorism,
jobs are
not just because of terrorism, because of the major factors are their their enemies, like their surrounding enemies like Iran, Syria. They are also rivals, right?
yes,
So
yes,
that's not the reason of terrorism. You can't say these two countries are rivals, right? So you
yeah,
can't say
Middle East,
one of them is terrorism.
talking about Middle East,
yes. They are rival.
talking about Middle East, there are a lot of issues there, and not just terrorism
Yes,
is, but even in Afghanistan
Yes,
we
there
can
are a
see.
lot of issues.
But what
yes.
when
They
talking about
see they
Afghanistan,
in Middle East there are lots of I mean issues, but the eventually every issue got somehow converted into the act of terrorism. For example, Israel issue, Iraq issue, Iran issue. So it is like a terrorism is a, like a common weapon which countries use
Yeah,
against each
that's
other.
that's what we all are seeing as a global audience. But the truth is, these two countries are destroyed just because of their own rivalry, right? So we all know that India and Pakistan got their rivalries, right? So if one day these two countries get on a war or do something to each other that will make any cause that will make any destructions, we can't say that is a terrorist act. It is a rivalry between these two countries that these two are facing right now.
okay,
The same happened in Iran and Iraq.
okay, I
Yes,
have
it is
one
a
point.
rival.
America named it like a terrorism attack so that they can get into their problem and they can get hand into their oil.
Okay, I would like
Yes,
to add one
so they
point
can dominate
that
and sell their
Afghanistan,
weapons.
okay,
Hmm.
Afghanistan is even facing the threat of Taliban terrorism. Okay, and the
Yes, yes,
elected,
with no doubt there are so many terrorism communities like Taliban, Al Qaeda, ISIS.
okay,
Yes, and see this is the basic difference between a war and a terrorism. Because in war, just you have to attack the proper military, but in terrorism, you just kill so many innocent civilian.
Yes, yes,
So
yes. That's the
this is the
main
main problem
reason.
with
So
terrorism.
that's why I think from this time, this 21st century, right? So the globalization is happening all over the world. People are getting together. So because of that, terrorism attacks are going to decrease day by day, and we can see that actually happening. Like Governments are no longer giving financial stability to terrorism. They are not funding them anymore. So I do think that terrorism is going to decrease, and terrorism is not not a major issue for world right now.
See, we cannot say this
Yeah,
way
but
that it is going to decrease, because if we means proper arrangements are not made, if the government and agencies are not very much strict towards terrorism, then it's
Yes, yes,
obviously
yes, must that is must. Government have to step strict action for them, right?
okay. And even when talking about government, I would like to ask some point that we have seen the recent escalation of tension in Myanmar. Okay, that military government of Myanmar has taken over. Military has taken
Yes,
over
yes, yes.
government.
yes,
So can we say that this is an act of terrorism by military of
No,
Myanmar?
no, 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 no,
no,
no,
it's
no.
not an act of terrorism.
It is
It's
not an act of terrorism.
dictatorship.
See, terrorism, you have to first define what is terrorism. In Myanmar, no innocent men are getting killed or no innocent people are getting tortured by the army. They are taking over the government, not the people of Myanmar.
But even in the last 2 months, more than 500 people have been killed by the military.
You can't say that directly that 500 people are get killed by military indirectly. They
Basically,
maybe
see,
they are get killed.
the people who got killed were actually the protester and not the we can say not the innocent one. For example, in a terrorist attack, the terrorists kill like
Okay, okay, I got
everyone.
your point. I got your point. Okay. So, talking about the challenges which terrorism face,
Yeah, what I also meant to say that they not intentionally killed the civilians, right? Maybe the civilians are protesting and in that way they get killed, but their main motto
so
was not that
we
to
can
kill
term it
innocent
as
people.
an act of
It's like a more
violence.
of a genocide.
Okay,
Yes, exactly.
we can term it as an act of violence, right?
Yes, that you can say that.
Okay. So, according to me, the several challenges which terrorism is posing to the global community is the security threat is topmost, human life threat of human life is second. Even it is also affecting economy, that due to terrorism, some of the FDI is diverted from the targeted country, right?
Yes,
Yes.
and yeah, the local region get badly affected by the terrorism.
Yes, like what happened in Mexico when Pablo Escobar totally cover the New Mexico and
And
become the
Yes,
terrorist, narco terrorist of
and
it.
also in Kashmir, with the fall of the tourists, so many people have become jobless. Their shops and also the hotel remain empty.
yes, and also due to terrorism, there is always a situation of tension between two countries like India and Pakistan.
Yes. No, see the terrorism between India and Pakistan is totally sponsored by the Pakistani government.
Yeah, but it is, and thus it is causing tension, right? Escalation of tension between the two countries.
Yeah, but it's only tension for India, but not for Pakistan.
No,
Yes,
even it is
because
causing
the
tension to
right.
Pakistan because funding and FDI of Pakistan has deteriorated over the last 2 decades.
See, yeah, Saurav is right. There is no evidence that terrorism is not causing trouble for Pakistan. There are several instances that can prove that terrorism acts
Yes, yes.
also happen in
Okay,
Pakistan, like bombing or anything.
so let's again look out for, let's sum up this discussion that
So yeah, basically I think that from the three important topics, the main reason why world is getting threatened is global warming,
because
and the
it
second
is
one is our economic recession.
okay.
Yes, and in my topics, sorry, in my point of view, for a short period of time, economic recession is more dangerous than global warming or terrorism. And for long term, I will say that global warming is the main problem. Then we have economic problem, and then at last I will like to keep terrorism.
And even global warming is not only a problem; it is going to become a major threat to the world today.
Yes,
Right?
yes, it can question our existence,
Okay.
the whole life.
Not only our existence, but even it can question the existence of all the organism of this planet. Okay.
Yes.
So that's all